it's early and yeah, I need my coffee. I figured I'd film this early because I have to go to work later. So yeah, let's see if we can go ahead and do this. Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'm bringing you my September wrap-up. So in the month of September, I was a little slumpy. I wasn't reading things as quickly, but then kind of went back through my list to see what I actually ended up reading, and I ended up completing 11 things. So let's just go ahead and get started with this. So the first book I completed in the month of September was The Bitter Kingdom by Ray Carson, the third and final book in the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy. And I absolutely adored this one. I read the first two books last month, so if you guys watched my wrap-up from last month, you guys will have all of my thoughts and everything from the first two books, and you know that I started or read the majority of this one last month, but I couldn't finish it before filming. So yes, I am wrapping it up now in, what is it now, October, for my September wrap-up, because yes, I finally finished this one. I've already read book 2 and 3 with Kayla from Kayla Rain, but I don't think she finished book 3. So yes, I mean, it was fun. It was great. It was a great buddy read, and hopefully Kayla will finish it soon and kind of give me her thoughts on how things finished, because I absolutely loved this one. This is definitely one of my favorite series of all time. For those of you who don't know, it's about this girl who has the stone in her belly button that is called the God Stone, and she knows because of this God Stone she is destined to do something great, but still doesn't know what it is and is trying to kind of figure out what is her destiny, what's her calling. And yes, I absolutely loved this third book. Like I said, it wrapped up beautifully. I loved everything that happened in this one. I feel like there is kind of this trend with these books where it starts off a little slow and then it picks up toward the end and it gets crazy. And lots of things start happening toward the end of this one. So this was definitely no different than the other two books where it kind of started off a little slow and then things got very action-packed and very quick toward the end. But I still loved it. It was amazing. And this is definitely a series that I will recommend for a very long time. Now, the second thing that I completed in the month of September was Lumberjanes Volume 2. This is the second volume, obviously, in the Lumberjane series about this group of girls that go to camp and have great adventures and the crazy things that happen at the camp. And I absolutely loved this series. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. And yes, it was just wonderful. I love the art style. I love the humor and the characters and everything. And I always keep like imagining like a Cartoon Network show every time I read a Lumberjanes volume, because it feels like it could be a great like Cartoon Network TV show. But I feel like I think they're doing a live action movie instead of a cartoon show, which is fine, but I would have preferred a cartoon series. But anyways, I love it. It's fun. It's a nice, easy, colorful read that I definitely highly recommend. Now, the next two things that I read in the month of September was Saga Volume 4 and Volume 5. Now, this continues, obviously, the story of our two main characters trying to escape everybody that's trying to chase them because they had a daughter together. They come from two kind of rivaling planets and had a baby, and now everybody is after them and their child, and this continues that story. I don't have to really get into too much detail because I feel like a lot of you guys know about Saga and have read Saga and have loved Saga. And yes, I'm no different than that. I have no other varying opinions on Saga. I love it just as much as everybody else does. It's wonderful, it's amazing, and I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars for the two volumes because, yeah, I mean, it's Saga. I know Volume 5 I feel like was my least favorite of all of them, but still was a very strong kind of entry into the series, and I absolutely loved it also. Now, the next book I completed was my first audiobook of the month. I read a lot of audiobooks or listened to a lot of audiobooks this month, and the first one was Someone Like You by Sarah Dessen. This is a YA contemporary book about these two friends who are kind of polar opposites. They're very different, but they get along really, really well, and they really love each other. They're really close, and one of the two girls has a boyfriend who dies right at the beginning. Like, the first chapter opens up with the death of her boyfriend, and very soon after the death of her boyfriend, she finds out that she's pregnant. So yes, it's kind of everything that ensues with this one friend being pregnant, her boyfriend no longer being there, and like the decisions that she now has to make and struggle with as to if she is going to have the baby, raise the baby, give it up for adoption, and that kind of thing. It deals with kind of hard topics. The book felt a little dated because it is one of Sarah Dessen's older books, so I don't know, it just felt like it dealt with some of issues from, like, I don't know, the 90s or something, but it was still really enjoyable. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever read, and like I said, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the next book I completed in the month of September was The Dinner by Herman Koch. This one I started in the month of August, I believe. So I finally finished it in September and absolutely loved this one. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. This is about two couples who go out to dinner and have to deal with an issue that happens with their children. So these are two families, their children are cousins. So the two main male protagonists are brothers, and they're going out with their wives to this dinner, and there's this issue that happened with their kids, and they're going out to dinner to kind of talk about this issue that happened with their children and kind of try and solve this problem that's going on and how they are going to deal with a certain situation. You kind of slowly start to find out what the situation is, and it gets very gruesome and very brutal. And I loved this one. I loved the characters. I loved that they were intriguing and dark, and they were purposely unlikable. And I know I've talked about, you know, unlikable characters and them being written as purposely unlikable and characters that you just don't like because they're just not written very well. These were purposely written unlikable characters because they make decisions and they say things that I think the author knew was going to irk people. And yeah, this is no different. I absolutely loved this one. Like I said, the only thing that kept me from giving this a full 5 out of 5 stars was that I felt like the author was going into a lot of kind of backstory that was a little unnecessary. Like there's like some flashbacks and stuff to kind of give you some backstory more on some of these characters, so you kind of get to feel for them a little bit more. And I felt like some of it was unnecessary. It was going into like too much detail of other things that I didn't really care about, but still really, really enjoyable in the end. Very, very disturbing at the end. So yes, I really, really recommend this one if you guys like kind of darker literary fiction type stuff. And the next book I completed was also an audiobook, but it was also a reread for me, and that was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, the first book in the Red Queen series. Now, I read this one last year, back when it first came out, and really, really enjoyed it, so I kind of wanted to give it another shot after kind of being on BookTube for a year and reading a lot of different YA to kind of see if my opinions varied on this one. And it's safe to say that they did not vary. I still really, really enjoyed this one. I still ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's about this girl named Mare Barrow, who is a red blood, and in this world, everybody is divided between red bloods and silver bloods, red bloods being the commoners, and silver bloods being kind of the elites with, like, magical abilities, kind of X-Men type thing. So she finds out, being a red blood, that she has abilities like the silvers, and kind of chaos ensues, because nobody has ever had a red blood with abilities and everything that happens after that. So she's introduced into the world of the silvers because she's trying to be hidden from the rest of society. And I loved this one. Like I said, the second time through, I really enjoyed the audiobook. I don't know. This is one of those books that I feel like a lot of people don't like, and I really, really enjoy. So I'm really excited because I finally picked up book 2 in the series and am ready to continue on with it. And the next book that I completed in the month of September was The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Rebels There by Catherine M. Valente. This is the second book in the Fairyland series, which I buddy read with Di from Dices19, which I will link down below for you guys to go and check out her channel because she is wonderful. And we just buddy read everything. I feel like anything that we want to read or anything that we're both curious about, we just end up buddy reading, because I feel like we've been buddy reading at this point, I think, for a year now. And it's just been wonderful. I love buddy reading with Di. I love kind of talking back and forth and giving our opinions on things. And this was one of those books, again, like Fairyland is not for everybody. It's about this girl who has adventures. It's a middle grade series, but it's written in a way where I feel like it's not the greatest for middle graders because the language is a little bit hard, and this is no different than that one, but it's whimsical and it's magical and it's wonderful. And in this second installment, we find September going into Fairyland Below because all of the shadows in Fairyland are being stolen and taken to Fairyland Below, and she has to go stop the person who is taking away everyone's shadow from taking everybody else's shadow away. So yes, it's fun, it's whimsical. This one is definitely darker than the first one, which I really enjoyed because I like darker things. And yes, I ended up still giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this one. The only reason that I didn't give it a 5 stars is because there was like slower pacing. It was taking a little bit longer for me to get through this one. Some of these chapters are really long. and it was just like dragging out a little bit, but I still really enjoyed this one. I love Fairyland and all of its whimsical characters and all of its wonderful things that are going on within it. So yes, I definitely recommend this one, and I'm excited to continue on with the series. The next book I completed was another audiobook, and that was A Beautiful Redemption by Kami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. This is the fourth and final book in the Castor Chronicles. It continues on with the story of Ethan and Lena being a Castor, and Ethan kind of at the end of book 3. Things happen where they get separated, and in this book you kind of have their journey and Ethan trying to get back to Lena and all of the things that happen. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Didn't enjoy it as much as the previous book, but still really enjoyed kind of where everything ended and how things kind of played out. It was a little slow at the beginning, but I feel like because I was listening to it on audiobook, it was just easier for me to get through. And I just really enjoy the series. This is another series out there that people don't really have the greatest opinions on, but I still really personally enjoyed this one, so yes. Now the next book is also an audiobook because me and my wife took a little road trip this past weekend, so we had a couple of audiobooks that we wanted to listen to, and this is one we actually completed during our trip, and that was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. So yes, this is a YA contemporary that a lot of people out there have read. A lot of people know about Rainbow Rowell and her writing and everything, about 2 kids who meet on the bus and their story after that, and I absolutely adored this book. This was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I loved it. I loved everything that happened. I loved the writing style. I loved kind of that I was imagining kind of this indie movie as I was reading this one, because it does feel like you're reading an indie movie. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I really enjoyed this one. I loved the dynamic between Eleanor and Park and their families. It does get really dark at some points, and I just really enjoyed this one. It was just wonderful. Rainbow Rowell is just such a great writer and is such a great contemporary writer, and I love her books. I've read, I think this is the 3rd one so far of hers that I've read. I've just really been enjoying her writing, and this was no different. It was wonderful. It was beautiful and great, and yes, highly recommend Eleanor Park. And the last book I completed was one that I didn't really complete until like the first couple of days within October, but I decided to throw it in here because by the time I'm filming this, I've already completed this one, and that was The Weight of Feathers by Anna Marie McLemore. This is the first book that I read for my Hispanic Heritage Month reads, and I really enjoyed this one. I went into this one I overhyped myself. Like, let's just put it that way. I overhyped myself because I'd heard really good things about it, and I just put it like way up here, and it wasn't the greatest book that I read, and I feel like it was because I overhyped it for myself. I felt like it was going to be something, and then it was completely like thrown for a loop when it was just not what I was expecting. And it's a story about these 2 kids who come from kind of rivaling performing families, and they've been told throughout their childhood to not kind of come in contact with the opposite family because there's a curse. And yes, kind of things happen. It's magical realism, so there's a lot of things going on within this one that kind of give you a magical feel within kind of our real world, and I still really enjoyed this one. There were a couple of parts in here where I kind of like, my mind just wandered and I wasn't really paying too much attention to it, so I kind of got lost somewhere like in the middle of this one, but still really enjoyed the parts that I kind of was able to kind of grasp my attention on. I don't know, it was just, it was one of those things where it wasn't the book, it was me. Like it was my mood and the way that I was feeling when I was reading this one. This is definitely going to be a book that I'm going to definitely reread and will benefit from a reread, because I'll go into it kind of knowing how it is and knowing what to expect, and I feel like it's going to be a lot better. Like I said, I overhyped this one too much for myself, but still really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah guys, it is it for all of the books that I completed in the month of September. Comment down below, let me know what your favorite books in September were, if you guys read any of the books that I read, and what your opinions are on them and everything. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you all next time.